right, what is up, Brad? How you doing today, man?
What's up, buddy?
Dude,
Good, Mike. How are you, sir?
I'm good, man. I'm good. Just loving life. And man, we've got episode 3, and we kind of talked about it in the last one. That we'll just go over some basics. Let's touch some basics, man, because that was, like I said in the last episode, is that's why, you know, what really propelled me. Like the intrigue got me at first, but then the buy-in happened when I learned about the technology, you know?
Sure.
And so I just wanted to touch on that a little bit. We're not going to go way into detail. You know, if you want to go like deep in the weeds on this stuff, like I did, you know, then we can get you some books or point you towards some videos, and we've got other tools and resources for that. But I thought let's just touch on like, what is blockchain?
I mean, everyone's different, right? Like everyone's reasons are different. Like everyone is attracted to different things about this space. And it's like, you know, yes, it's a technology. And if you geek out on technology, into the details, right? You know, and that's you, right? And then me, like, I'm like, okay, like I know it works. I know how it works. I'm not a whole lot more technical than that. So I'm good.
Yeah.
You know,
and that's the thing.
And it's like, and that's what's great. It's like, because if you understand the basics, right. And that's kind of what we're gonna break down today. It gives you the confidence in how to treat it, right? And so like that's what we're gonna knock out today. And I think that's exciting. I'm glad that you like take a deep dive into it, because then it's like, hey, I understand the technicals, and it's like, boom, you know, I can like turn into layman's terms, because that's about all I know, right? You know, and so, but I think that's the beauty of the crypto space is like, you don't have to know everything, right? You don't, like, I have a friend, and you know, that was worked as in an auto mechanic stuff for years, right? And it's like he can break down every piece of like an engine, and like he can rebuild it, he can create it from basically scratch. And so he likes to know the nuts and bolts. Like if I'm trying to fix a car, I'm gonna have a hard time, but I can tell you if something's leaking. I can tell you if like something's not working right. So it's just like know how you interact with it, things, and then know what you need to know about this space to help you get through. You know? So boom.
Exactly, man. I mean, I met a guy the other day, Calvin, who's a developer in Web3. I mean, so he knows it on a whole nother level, you know, but I was fascinated by what he knew. I mean, he can go and write a smart contract, you know, for you. He's on that level. And so you've just got the crazy technical side of things, you know, that gets into the weeds of actually creating, you know, smart contracts that run all of these projects. And then you've got me kind of in the middle, like I'm a tech guy, but I can't I never learned code. I was always fascinated by it. I still am fascinated by it. And how this code makes and these really, even beyond code, ones and zeros, makes these computers run. That's how we're talking to you today. You know, that's fascinating to me. Like, how in the world did somebody come up with this? You know?
And then I can tell you how to hit the buy and sell button.
There you go. So we've got the full gambit for you, right? Oh man. All right, I'm gonna switch my screen, and hopefully I don't break the internet here. And we are going to go. And what I wanted to do is just what I've got pulled up here, Brad, is literally like went to Google, what is blockchain? I mean, right? So I think, you know, we just break this down on a basic level, and then we can give some use cases, some real life, you know, experiences and use cases for blockchain and for smart contracts, and kind of paint a picture here, right? We're not going to go into the weeds. We're not going to tell you how these are written or how you write one or all this stuff, but hopefully you can take this information and apply it to your life, and somehow it'll resonate and be like, oh wow, what if my company used a smart contract for this, or you know, so on and so forth. And so there's so many industries in this world, and there's so many use cases for smart contracts and blockchain that, and I've said this before, every single industry will be on blockchain at one point or another. It's just a matter of time. 100%. Because you have something that here's the definition. Okay, here's blockchain defined. What is blockchain in simple words? Blockchain is a shared, immutable ledger that facilitates the process of recording transactions and tracking assets in a business network. Okay,
sounds like something that everyone should have,
right? I mean, every single industry, whether you're in the auto industry or the financial industry or a warehouse or real estate, or even something to like a fast food restaurant who has materials coming in and food products coming in, and they've got to track those, and where did they come from? Is the shipment good today? Did it come from the place that we ordered it from? And then that word immutable, right? That word immutable means it cannot change. Once it is recorded in history on the blockchain and verified, it cannot change. That is priceless.
Man,
it's absolutely priceless.
That's pretty awesome, right?
I mean, and that's what fascinated me, getting into this. So that immutable ledger that facilitates the process of recording transactions and tracking assets in a business network, that literally applies to anything. I mean, that's anything tangible or intangible. So tangible, what is that? That's a house, it's a car, it's money, it's land. And then intangible, intellectual property, IP rights, right? Think of music, think of movies, think of patents, brands, things of that nature.
Yeah.
That can be tracked and verified with the blockchain now, right? That makes those things even more valuable than they were.
Sure.
So
that's why you see, all these music artists and stuff talking about releasing their records now, their music as NFTs, because it's on a blockchain. And so now that they maintain better ownership rights of it, they have, they can go direct to the customer. They can go direct to the public. They don't have to go through the recording companies. They don't have to go through, getting screwed by all the sharing, the music sharing groups and things like that. They can sell their music directly to somebody, and then they can earn rewards on that forever. They can get a commission on that every time someone transfers it to somebody else.
Right. Yeah. Gone are the days of Napster and BearShare and all those other ones where you could just torrent movies or music and copy it infinitely.
Yeah.
Right. And then hand it out and make money on it. I mean, sure, that stuff is still probably going to happen, but now you can verify whether or not that copy is real, or not even a copy. Is that music file an original?
Right.
You know what I mean?
Right. DVDs that are being burned and all that kind of stuff. It's funny that you're talking about that, because we're, I'm in a grocery store yesterday with my daughter, and there was one of those red box things.
Yeah.
She's like, what is this? Well, and then we were watching was a movie like Captain Marvel, and she lands on the Blockbuster,
right?
She's going through, and there's all these VHS tapes.
What's a Blockbuster?
What's a Blockbuster? Where is this person? Where's Captain Marvel at? And it's then she sees this red box the next day, and it's you try to explain to a 7-year-old Blockbuster, and that it's oh, she's well, it's just on the TV.
You used to have to go to a store to get your movies? Wait, what? And then you had to take them back when you were done?
Wait, you had to turn it back?
Exactly, right?
Technology.
Yeah, technology, yes.
Yeah.
Oh my Lord.
But hey, so let's break this down, because we're both real estate people, right?
Yep.
And that's our background anyways. And so let's break down what this potentially could look like on a real estate deal.
Yep.
Okay. So let's say I have a house to sell. All right. And you're looking to buy it.
Yeah.
And so let's say the full history of that house was on the blockchain. Or let's talk about how it's not on the blockchain. Okay. So Like right now, you go and you get an inspection done, you're going to like have somebody come in, they're going to try to figure out like all the different things about like what's happened to the house, the history of the house. Maybe you have, some old recordings from insurance records that may show that there was a flood or that there was a roof replacement done or something like that, right? But there's no way to tell every detail about that house. There's just not.
No.
Okay.
No way.
But what if it was all recorded on the blockchain, where the lumber showed up from, like what supplier were the bricks from, all of that from the original building of the house. Then like every time some kind of maintenance piece happened on that house, it was recorded into this ledger. This is kind of the idea behind like what Carfax did for the car industry, right?
Yep.
It's like they tried to record everything. Now you don't get everything, but they try to record as much as they can, like based on you going into, let's say you go into the auto mechanic shop and you get your oil changed or whatever, and that auto mechanic puts that record in. They put like the number of miles your car had on it at the time, the diagnostics and all that stuff. Like that's in the computer system. But if you had like every detail had to go into this particular ledger on this particular house. So like, hey, in 1972, there was a hurricane that completely wiped this place out, and this isn't the original structure anymore.
Right.
Or, it was rebuilt in 1984, or there was a fire in, 1978 and this happened and that happened, or the house was built with asbestos and it's never been replaced, or it was replaced because you have this report of that in 1995, whatever it might be, right? And so it's like every detail is then blocked out in time dated stamps that show when these things happen over the history of this home. As a buyer, you would be much more aware of what you're purchasing. You would be able to make a smarter investment.
Think of this real quick.
As a seller, I would feel confident that I'm properly disclosing my property to you.
Right. Put a house that's not on the blockchain up against a house that is on the blockchain, and I guarantee you someone will feel more comfortable and more inclined to buy the house that was on the blockchain than the one that isn't. Okay. And that's going to happen as we transition, right? And you're like, Mike, well, what if this builder decides that's not how they're going to do it? Then they're going to be playing catch up, and they're going to realize over time that their houses aren't worth as much as those that have switched over to this fully verifiable, immutable, way of tracking this house, right? Because now I know exactly where these materials came from. Now I know exactly who built this house. Now I know, all of these things, and I'm going to pay more if I go up against one that isn't doing that, because I know the history of this.
It takes away shady business practices in different industries. Like, I mean, let's just stay with the house example. It's like, hey, this is, Italian marble or whatever you want to say. Well, actually, no, we chopped it out of it's granite, and we just tried to make it look like whatever, right? Like it's engineered or whatever, right? And it came from a factory in Minnesota, and it's just like you just make stuff up, right? And so it's like it'll take away people's ability to do that kind of stuff, right? It'll take away homeowners' ability to not disclose things that need to be disclosed, right? And so it's just it's a better altogether practice. I don't know if you know this, but I like the number one lawsuit that happens in real estate is around seller's disclosures. What has been disclosed and what hasn't been disclosed properly.
Right.
And that's why, for me, like I always make sure that my clients go through a process of properly disclosing their information, because like I don't just have them fill out the forms anymore. Like I actually use software that helps them fill it out. And that's on them. And I let them know, hey, like this is an important thing. You need to make sure you fill this out correctly. Fortunately, I haven't had to deal with any of that ever with any of my clients. They've never had, any of that.
Because you went through that process, right?
Right.
Because you went through the process of properly disclosing.
Had 100%. And I've met other people that have not properly disclosed things, or talked to agents around the country that have had people that have been sued for hundreds of thousands of dollars on different properties because they didn't disclose like a foundation repair or, whatever it may be. And it's like, that's how you get screwed. That does not happen with blockchain technology.
Right, exactly. I could very easily just go and be like, oh, let me see. Okay, yeah, you had this, and this happen. It happened at this date and time. Here's it's recorded. You filed the insurance claim. All that can be pulled up like that, right?
And so that's the technology that is behind, cryptocurrency.
Right. Exactly.
And they're using blockchain technology to manage supply chains now and to do a bunch of different things, right? So even like, food industry is starting to be able to use it, which is really awesome. Let's say you go to Costco and you buy a head of lettuce, right? And then all of a sudden Costco realizes that there's a bad shipment of lettuce that came through. They can track it back down and they can send out a message to all the people that actually bought the bad lettuce instead of like having no idea and everybody gets a recall message, And so like, being able to disclose proper recalls and things like that through logistics chains is going to be great.
Rather than just like blanket send outs.
Uses for this.
Yeah.
So there's cryptocurrencies, there's companies in the crypto space that are providing these solutions. And through these solutions, they also release tokens or coins, and you can invest in these technologies to be able to make money as these things are adopted. So there's ones that are based around logistics, for example. There's ones that are based around medicine. There's ones that are, and so it's like you can figure this stuff out as you learn about this space. You can find proper use cases and understand why you would want to invest in a particular cryptocurrency because it's tied to this solution, not just because Elon Musk tweeted about it.
Right. Exactly. Dogecoin, you can now buy Teslas with Dogecoin. Go buy Dogecoin. Yeah.
Dog wallet.
We are not affiliated with any of that.
No. Anyway.
Yes, exactly.
So that's kind of a basic rundown and some real life example of what like blockchain could be. Right.
Exactly. And that's what fascinates me. And that's where my buy-in came in at. It's like, holy crap, that makes a lot of sense. And there is a use case in literally every single industry for that, and it's only a matter of time, and I was like, okay, I'm in, this is, I believe in this, and from a real estate standpoint, it was easy, right. Cause that's just like, that just makes total sense, and I'm sure somebody in a warehouse space or logistics space or whatever could just as easily say, yeah, that makes total sense, So, all right. So let's talk about what's a smart contract. Okay. So I'm going to flip over here and same thing. So what is a smart contract and how does it work? Let me zoom into this. So real simple terms. Okay. Smart contract, right? So it's a contract between two people, or two entities or whatever, just like a normal contract, right? But it's a smart contract. Why? Because it's on the blockchain. Okay. So a smart contract is an agreement between two people or two entities or whatever in the form of computer code. Okay. So that's just the like basic definition there, but they run on the blockchain. So they are stored on a public database and cannot be changed. Okay, the transactions that happen in a smart contract are processed by the blockchain, which means they can be sent automatically without a third party. Okay, that also is very easy to transition to real estate. Okay, you think of like DocuSign or title companies or all these different things that you have to send a mobile notary for because you need somebody there that can verify that happened.
Right.
That goes away. Right. This is my thought process. But I think once this really takes hold, I don't think lawyers are going to be needed in as many avenues.
No, absolutely not. You're going to need people that can design smart contracts.
Exactly.
People that can write smart contracts will be more valuable than any other type of person involved in a transaction.
Sure.
Because they're going to be the ones that are writing the code behind these things. They're going to be the ones that are doing this for companies. You're going to see more and more smart contract jobs become available, where it used to be attorneys and things like that. Those are going to be the things that companies are going to be looking for very, very soon. So if you know how to write code, if you can develop smart contracts, that's going to be a very highly sought out for skill set.
Huge. You've got tons and tons of coders or whatnot who have moved from the Web 2 space, which Web 2 is just the general internet as we know it. Okay. Web 3 is this new blockchain smart contract, NFT metaverse world, where everything is moving to. But you've got all these coders and developers who are moving out of the Web 2 space into the Web 3 space, right? Yep. And so they are moving towards that. If you know how to do that, you are going to be in high regard, sure. Right?
Yep. So basically, like the gist of a smart contract though is this: it's like it recognizes that two entities, whether it's people or whatever, two entities, one person has this thing on this side, one person has this thing on this side, and they get brought into the center until both parties have fulfilled their end of bringing it to the center. So like, let's say it's a real estate contract, right? This person has the house, they've handed over the house. This person has the money, they got to hand over the money. And once everything's in the middle, then boom, now the contract is valid and both parties now own whatever was being transferred.
Right. And so you say like, well, Brad, how does that work for a house? A house is a physical asset. How does the contract know? Well, that's where things like NFTs come into play, non-fungible tokens. There will be an NFT tied to every physical house in the future. Okay. And so once that NFT is put into that smart contract, that's where that transfer happens. Right.
The person that has the ownership of that NFT, they're the ones that show ownership of the tangible asset.
Exactly. And then that smart contract executes the paperwork that goes along with the physical transfer of the house. Sure. Right. And so that's where all of that happens in that contract. And that's how those contracts will be written. And that's how things will change hands in the future. So 100%. It's
like, and the smart contract for like just like being able to exchange currencies and stuff like that. Like, hey, if I'm in Florida and you are in Texas and I'm wanting to send you money quickly, but like maybe I need it to go to you right now instead of 4 hours from now. Like if I was going to do like a wire transfer, I can boom, boom, boom. What's your wallet address? Sweet. I'm going to send you, an Ethereum and boom, I send it on mine. It hits you after a couple of, like 30 confirmations or whatever to just confirm contract, confirm the addresses. Once it's all confirmed, boom, that money is in your account now. And we just, we're able to have a transaction take place in a matter of seconds that would normally take a banking system hours to complete. With significantly much less fees.
Right. Because it's creating this trustless system, right? You don't need all these third parties verifying all of this stuff because the smart contract verifies it for you, right? And so you don't need all of that anymore. And so things can happen. Houses won't need 30 to 45 days to transfer from person to person. You won't need it anymore because things can happen at a much quicker rate via Web3. Right. And so you can transfer this stuff much quickly because the currency will be in Web3 along with the physical asset being digitized in Web3. Right. And so all of these deeds and things and this paperwork and all this stuff, the physical asset will be digitized in a way. And so the money's digitized, the land or the property is digitized. And now there's a smart contract that can transfer all of that between two people or two entities, and you don't need all these third parties doing all these things. Yes, we'll still need lenders, and we'll still need, I think title companies will still be necessary, and whatnot for kind of moving things around. But they're not going to be utilized in the same manner.
For the foreseeable future.
Right.
And then, there's title companies already that are like learning smart contracts and being able to get involved in being able to handle crypto transactions and stuff like that. Because people are using cryptocurrency now versus using, US dollars. To be able to transact in real estate purposes. So it's like people are adapting to this already. So it's like, okay, this adaptation process is happening. Adoption is going to continue to happen, and boom, it's going to be mainstream before you know it. And so this is what I continue to say about the crypto space. What seems like a dream right now, 5 years from now, will be day practice. And so, we look back what 5 years ago the crypto space looked like, 10 years ago what it looked like. These people that were super early in the crypto space, I mean, you talk to them and they're like, man, what's going on today? Like, this is exactly what we used to dream about. And so it's like, now we're still so early in this space being utilized that, as this continues to roll out, it's just like the internet. Like 20 years ago, let's call it 30 years ago, the internet was not anything like, and look how quickly we can do things now. And it's like, we used to have these big block things. Now we've got, these, and it's just like, you're able to do so much so fast. And we're able to, talk to anybody around the world as fast as possible. We're able to produce this. We're able to do like all these different things. Right. And so it's like the internet continues to move faster, but that was just a dream 20 or 30 years ago. And now here we are, and we're continuing to push this forward. So, I mean, if you think you're too late, or you think that this space is crazy and it's not going to be around and it's just a fad, man, I pray that you open up your eyes.
Yep, I do too, man. I mean, I've got this adoption of technology in the US pulled up here. And it's just a chart that shows, we'll show this real quick and then we'll wrap this up. But I just wanted to show you this chart that tells you the adoption of technology over time, right? And back when technology, quote unquote, came out in the 1900s for different things, where it was telephone and electricity, and then cars, and then radio, and the fridge, and we moved then into the TV and airplanes, and airplanes took a little bit longer for some people. They're like, man, you're going to put me up in this thing and I'm going to trust you. Wait a second. Hold on. Like that one took a little bit longer. It's funny on this chart. That one took a little bit longer. But then once there's a point in the 1960s when enough people said, hey man, this is safe. That skyrocketed from there. It was just like everybody was flying, and that's the point of this, right? I mean, we're in a time now where.
Well, if you look at a chart, Mike, at a chart, I want to say it's like in the 1970s, right? Mm-hmm. And it's like when the microwave it went into almost every home immediately.
Yes.
Right.
Yep.
Like that one's almost a straight line.
1975, it went like straight up.
And so you have that. All right. So now look to the left at all the curves to the left.
Mm-hmm.
They're much more gradual. They take more time.
Mm-hmm.
Go to the right, and all the new technologies that come out continue to be adopted at a much more rapid pace.
For sure.
And so now let's like fast forward into the early 2000s when you have tablets and smartphones and all these things dropping into people's houses.
Right.
They're almost straight lines up. It's like, I remember it was like, you just go trade in your phone, you just go trade this thing in, you get the new one. Right.
Right.
And so like, that's how quickly things change. And so there's two pieces to that.
Yep.
As technology becomes more advanced, it becomes more quickly adopted. And number two, as technology is created, it becomes more accessible
Yep.
and cheaper.
Yep.
Because in early stages, technology is always more expensive. You know,
for sure.
So the early models cost more. You know, it cost more when you got the first iPhone. Well, now the first iPhone is like worthless, you know, but it's like you go buy one for $50 probably, right?
Yeah.
And so it's like, you know, but now it still works like in this ways, right? And so it's like, but as they continue to create technology, they continue to be able to make it easier, more affordable,
right,
and more for the mainstream masses. And so early adopters always get to see the increased fruit in that.
Yep.
Now, we've talked about this in the last episode. This is the first time in history that you've been able to actually tie monetary gain from the adoption of a technology.
Right.
And so now you add cryptocurrency to the end of that graph, and you're going to see that thing. And right now, I would say we're probably only in like the 20% range, maybe less, of the worldwide population that is using cryptocurrency. And as that takes off, boom, because you have countries of the world that don't even have banking systems. So like this is going to become it. You've got countries all over the world that are every day there's a news article that pops out that this new country just said that Bitcoin's legal tender.
Right.
You know, that this state in the US is putting together a bill to be able to pass, you know, crypto being legalized tender in their state, right?
Right.
You got, you know, Bitcoin Cash is being really heavily pushed in the Caribbean islands. I mentioned that on another episode, I believe. And so it's like there are this wave of technology growth that we're getting to experience. And not only is it good for you to know about this because you're going to be transacting in this in the future, just like right now you use a debit card versus 10, you know, I don't know, 50 years ago, maybe you use cash more, even maybe 15, 20 years, you use cash more. And
right.
now it's like, oh, I use my debit card, or you use Apple Pay or whatever. It's like a lot of people don't even care there. They just go pop and they scan their, you know, I don't do that. I'm still old school. I still swipe my debit card or insert the chip, you know, whatever. But, you know,
but I bet you don't have cash in your wallet.
I do keep cash in my wallet because sometimes I get deals.
Okay, well, I don't. To make my point, it's
but
just cards.
People do though, right? Very few people do, and also when you're traveling and stuff, you know, sometimes you got to have, you know, the
right
with you.
Right.
It just makes things easier. But what I'll tell you is, as this continues to happen, you're gonna ride the wave.
Yeah,
so I love that chart.
Yeah,
because to me, when I learned about this chart and I understood this chart as like, and then I added crypto to it in my mind and started thinking of it as like, I was like, oh, awesome. You know, I need to know about this because this is the future of finance.
Right.
Well, not only is it the future of finance, but it's a really amazing way to make money and invest. So then you tie on that piece. So it's like two different conversations at the same time.
Yeah.
It's like the conversation of this is how we're going to operate it in the world one day. Everyone's going to do it, just like everyone operates with a microwave in their house and, you know, all, you know, modern conveniences, right? You know, so you got to know it from that standpoint, but why not know about it early so you can benefit monetarily from it?
Right. Well, think about that. So the other thing that I get from this chart, and then I swear we'll wrap this one up, but the other thing I get from this chart, if you look at this chart and you look back when the telephone and electricity first came out, well, what came from the telephone and electricity? Well, then we got cars and radio and the fridge and the TV. Okay, awesome. Well, then what came from the main next wave, right? So then we had video games that came out, and then we had the PC come out, okay? And then the cell phone, then the internet came out. Well, what came out after the internet? Well, then we were able to do digital cameras and MP3s and then HD TVs and social media and smartphones. So if you get back to like, okay, electricity gave the ability for these other things. Okay. The internet gave the abilities for these other things. Web3 is now giving the ability for these other things. And if you look at this graph and you just look at the very bottom of each of these deals, if you look back from the 1900s, well, it was spaced out on when the next innovation came out based on the previous one. Okay. Then you got into the 1980s. That innovation came out, and now there's a lot more lines that came from that innovation, and they came a lot quicker. right? And now if we were able to look at 2010 up to now, there would be a lot more lines that just came out from when the first smart contract and first blockchain, which is Bitcoin, came out, and what came from that. Right. And so the innovation that comes out of the innovation.
$1 trillion market.
Exactly. So if you want to get in on something that is creating a whole nother wave of innovation, now is the time, because there's so many things that haven't even been done yet with this new innovation.
Yeah.
That will happen, and these lines are going to be a lot closer on that next adoption of technology chart.
Absolutely, man. Absolutely. I couldn't said it better, man. That's awesome. So, you've got major players in the market saying like, the metaverse is going to be a multi-trillion-dollar market. Okay. Well, where did that stem from? Crypto, right? And so it's like, how can you make money in the metaverse? Yeah, you can, through NFTs and through cryptocurrencies.
Yeah.
And so it's like, and if you've got, big players saying, hey, this is going to be $1 trillion market and it barely exists right now, maybe you should consider jumping involved.
Right.
Involved. So, yeah, man, awesome play.
Multi-trillion. I think the last comment from one of the news articles that I read was $13 trillion for the metaverse. Okay. Cryptocurrency as a market cap, as it sits today, is at 2. Okay. So you could literally 6x the market cap of this innovation. And
just in one section.
Just in the metaverse. That doesn't even talk about NFTs and other things that are come from smart contracts and other projects that are changing how we transact in money across the globe with
market cap, Ethereum's market cap, none of that.
It doesn't talk about. That's just one lane.
Projects.
Yeah. So, I mean, we could go on and on and on and on, right? NFTs didn't come out when Bitcoin came out. NFTs came later. Metaverse didn't come out before NFTs. Like, there are new things that keep coming because of this. Innovation happens because of innovation.
That's exactly right, man. That's exactly
right. And I think that's a good place to stop. We could go on for days and days and days, but we're just so passionate about it.
We're going to try to keep this,
yeah,
basic.
Exactly. This was supposed to be basic, but anyways, I think that's a good place to stop. Look, if you want to get more information, from this and about this, if you have more questions, if there's a place that you want to go for trusted, a trusted source, because this can be the wild, wild west sometimes, because there are people out there who want to hurt and steal and maim and throw you off track and all that stuff in every single industry, right? What does that tell me? That tells me that there's something of value in that, because other people want to steal it, right? Yep. If it wasn't valuable, people wouldn't want to steal it. Or take advantage of it in some way, right? So think about that, okay? But if you want a trusted source for that, we're going to drop in the show notes. You'll have a link there for a Telegram channel that we've created, right? It's a public channel that you can go in. We have a private one that's another kind of step as well. And if you want to take it to the next level, we can get you some tools and resources. We can have that conversation. But reach out to us on Twitter. We'll drop our Twitters in there and our Instagram handles in the show notes, and just reach out. We want to hear from you. We want to tell more and more people about this. We're so excited to share this message.
Let us know what you want to hear about, and we want to make sure that we're creating something that's content that you want, and so throw some suggestions on things that you like for us to chat about, and we'll bring that up too.
Yep, exactly. Well, good deal. Brad, man, I hope you have an awesome rest of your day. Everybody that's listening, I hope you're having a beautiful day and a beautiful week. And we will catch you on the next one. Have a blessed week.
All right. Bye, guys.